Should we just start with what you focused on since Saturday, and when you've analysed and calmed down after the frustration of the weekend, what you've been hoping will to put right this Wednesday?
I think the same focus as every game, whether we win, lose or draw, is to try and learn as much from it as possible and what's going to help us in the next performance against the next opponent we face. And I think, speaking to the players as well, I think we're all in agreement. It was we stopped doing a lot of the stuff that we did really well in the first half for a number of reasons. And I think it's really easy to point to maybe Huddersfield changed their mentality a little bit. But even more so at that point, then you need to stick to the detail and be more relentless with it. And we just lacked a little bit of intensity in the second half. And I think we've looked back at the games after the international break, we have a lot more players go away than most. It's difficult to then really find that like fluid and rhythm in the game. So I think the players are frustrated, albeit we got a point away from home in the Championship. It's still, to be frustrated at is a good thing, and we're in a nice place. We're 9 unbeaten, but we've learned as much as we can from it. Hopefully we'll see loads of the stuff come out in the game tomorrow night, and then I'm sure we can discuss that in further detail after.
On the flip side, you scored first in the last 10 matches, and obviously every team wants to do that. I don't need you to say that, but how consciously do you think that is about? We're moaning about the second half starts, but actually coming out to start a game and you wanting the players to absolutely own the turf, as it were.
Yeah, I think, but it is then about maintaining that and getting the really turning dominance and the amount of ball we have into something really that makes opponents very difficult to get back into the game. So I watched Tottenham on Sunday, and the question, I was watching it with a couple of other people, and it's like, can they maintain that intensity? And they couldn't. So it's not just us, and is the hardest thing when you're trying to dominate the ball and teams still coming after you, and it's really different. It's a really different challenge we face. So in our previous club, very little respect at the start of a game from opposition. So an opposition would come with no real respect, of course, professional respect, but like all out to try and stop any flow at all. So the team we had would have to then try and really earn respect through being immaculate with the ball, intensity. Here, a lot of the time early on in the game, we have a lot of respect currently. Some games are different because of the quality of player we have. We've been in the Premier League. So it's a different... And the players at the minute start the game, our players, with understanding the context of the game, because it's our job to try and give them that, and they carry out the detail brilliantly. And then when the context of the game changes a little bit, we haven't been quite as fluid or as intense. So what comes first, we've discussed this, is always going to be courage with the ball. Always, always, always. And then, but to play the way we want to play takes a huge amount of intensity. Like, it's not, people think it's really easy, and to keep the ball, it's not. When 11 men are chasing you, well, 10 men and the goalkeeper are chasing you like dogs to try and win the ball back. So it's a really interesting process for us. Really exciting, really challenging. We are really enjoying it, and the players, I think, whenever we've had like a problem and we've tried to find a solution together, they've been so willing to take it on and be part of that process of learning and evolving and growing. And tomorrow night is another challenge after Saturday, especially the second half, is to try and learn from that. Let's see what we can take from it. Let's see how we can grow from it. And I'm really excited about it. It'll be a good game.
In my head, without having facts in front of me, you've had two different ways of dealing with 3-game weeks. One, you went pretty similar Saturday to Wednesday. The other, you made 5 changes at Preston and went back at the weekend. So is that a tactical thing from your point as much as a fitness thing with players?
Yeah, I think you look at the opposition and you try and pick the best solution for that game. But I think by consistency in the team on the whole, I think the 5 changes was some out of necessity, and again there'll probably be some changes tomorrow night out of necessity, because we're trying to manage people for a really busy period of games between now and January is ridiculous. So yeah, some are out of physical requirement, I guess, really about trying to manage, and some are also like trying to manage the squad in the best way possible to keep everyone motivated, interested, hungry, because we really trust every player that we have here. So it's not like when we take one player out, we put one in, it shouldn't weaken us in any way, really. And sometimes maybe a bit, sometimes maybe a lot. but it shouldn't because the quality of player we have here. But when players are in rhythm and playing good minutes is a nice place to be in. But I think the last 3 game weeks we've had, I think every player's been used pretty much. Whether it's even if someone's got 10 minutes, 15 minutes, every player's been on the pitch at some point, and I probably don't see this one being much different.
Just on what you said at the weekend and what we discussed about that ruthlessness when you 1-0 up, that, as I might cliche it, a killer instinct to put teams to bed. Is that within the squad, or do you need help in January or next summer to make that better?
No, I think it's here. I think we have a lot of young players in the position where we're requiring them to be really ruthless. And I think that's like a challenge for us is to help them with the mentality in and around the goal. The guys at the back taking unbelievable risk, really, or perceived risk. For us is not so much, but for others they would see it as big risk with the way that they play and the pressure they invite and the way they play under pressure, and they do it incredibly well. Like, I watch them with immense pride, the players from where they were at the start to where they are now, and they'll only keep getting better, and there'll be some challenges, of course, but the guys now, when we get to the top end, have to take their risks as well, and there's less risk when you're further away from your goal, and it's about us trying to get them to express themselves and play with freedom and energy and intensity and aggression in and around the opposition goal, and trying to stay there for as long as possible. So, and there's always a balance to be had. Like, contrary to popular belief, I don't want 80% of the ball and not have a shot. So, like, it's I want us to be really aggressive with the ball. Away from, in terms of like a performance away from home, we had a lot of shots, a lot of final third entries, a lot of box entries on Saturday, and we only had 1 goal to show for it at half time until 87 minutes, which isn't enough really. So yeah, we have to find a way to do that, and I think we will only get better in that. And it's always like the process that both clubs have been at now is like the last bit to come, and when that clicks, when they have real understanding of each other and relationships in that final third, and the team spends longer there, then the goals tend to follow. And I think we're fairly well placed in terms of goals scored, but there should be a lot more.
Just on Liam Manning then, new in the job at Bristol City, followed you into MK Dons, did very well at Oxford. And I've heard some people say he's like another Russell Martin, you know, playing football a certain way.
It's not much of a compliment to him, unfortunately, if he gets called down. Gutted for him.
So what are you expecting from them then? Because he's obviously come in and now going through a change in the way he wants them to do things.
I thought Nigel done a brilliant job there. I really like Nigel as a guy. Always enjoyed spending time with him after games, and his staff, really good people, tough games. I think Liam's done amazingly well. So in football, like, for players and coaches, timing and opportunity have to align. He had a brilliant first season at MK, a really tough second, and then ended up in him getting the sack. And then an opportunity arises with good timing at Oxford, and you have to be ready to take that opportunity, right? And you have to learn from your previous jobs, and he's done brilliantly well. So I'm really pleased. Another young British manager getting an opportunity they deserve, and for him as well, for like bouncing back the way he has, been amazing. I don't really know him very well. He obviously followed us into a job and nearly took MK up, and now he has an opportunity to coach at this level, and one that I'm still grateful for, and I'm sure he'll be grateful for, and he'll be desperate to make sure he stays there or improves and gets to the next level at some point. So they are definitely changing and trying to change a bit. Young, hungry squad. I think it came out this week. They have the most academy graduates in their first team, so they're doing something really, really brilliant at that club. And he's inherited a young, hungry, athletic squad with a really good foundation of work from Nigel and his staff. So it's going to be a tough game for us, and they're trying to implement their own way early on in his tenure, obviously. But yeah, it's the more young and British coaches, or young or old to be honest, the more British coaches that are in there and trying to do their own thing, then I'm all for it.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to George for 10:30.
Yeah, as Adam sort of touched on there, Bristol City got a new manager, and I imagine a lot of their players as well will be trying to get good results to kind of push their side and to push them into the place in the team.
Yeah, they had a brilliant result at the weekend, so I think they'll come in with energy and buoyed off the back of that, and look to try and gain some momentum and definitely feed off the energy they had on Saturday. So yeah, we looked at that scoreline and thought, that makes it a bit tougher for us for sure, but the focus is on us. We'll be aware of them, the players are aware of them and the threats we feel they possess, but also what we need to do to really turn it into a game we want it into, and to keep building on the momentum we have at home currently and the form we're in. So yeah, it's a good challenge for us.
I know Alfie asked you about Camaldine on the weekend, but sort of what's he got to do? Because he's got the assist, but he's still waiting for that first goal, and he's maybe not finished a game yet. So what's he got to do to kind of push himself on to that next level?
He needs to be really, really reliable in his defensive actions, and then he needs to be really, really aggressive. And I think less is going to be more with Camaldine. So I think he's been used to having to get the ball and dribble past everyone, dribble past 3 or 4 players, and really try and create something himself. And now the team brings him the ball a lot in areas where he's often maybe doubled up. He's attracting other, so he frees up a lot of space for other people. But then it's about moving the ball quick enough to get him on a pitch where we can expose him 1v1 and get him 1v1 and isolate him with people. And then it's about his end product after that. And he has brilliant energy. Honestly, he's been fantastic to work with. And now it's that last little bit where he needs to really trust his teammates to give him the ball in certain areas, and he needs to force them to give him the ball in certain areas, because sometimes I think we're a little bit guilty of waiting for the ball and not enough. If I was him, I would just run to goal all the time. Sprint, reset, because he's the fastest thing I've ever seen. And so we need a bit more of that from him. And I think when he's physically getting better and better each week, we'll see more of that from him, because there's moments in games that no one else can give you. But we need more of them, and we need more of them to come to something. And it's nothing I'm not telling Camaldine, so it's not like he'll be surprised at seeing what I'm telling you. He knows and he agrees on the whole. So he wants to play longer in games. We're still at a point where we are having to manage him a little bit. So that's down to him. How quickly he can play 90 minutes and how quickly he can show that he can be consistent over 90 minutes will determine how long he plays on the pitch. And I'm sure once that happens, his numbers will improve and he'll start really fulfilling the potential he has, because he's got huge potential for sure.
One of the criticisms that he's kind of had from fans is maybe that he slows the attack down a little bit, but I guess that's kind of something fans will say, because you said it there, he's so quick, he has that ability to really terrorise.
Yeah, and you can't expect him to do it in every single action. So also, sometimes he slows it down because he has 2 or 3 people around him, right? The teams... People will fear Camaldine a lot because of the ability and the speed he possesses. If I played against him, I'd want as much help as I possibly could get next to me and around me. Well, I played quite well against him in training today. But yeah, it's the game is different and the rhythm of the game changes. And I think it's our job to teach him where and when the rhythm of the game should change and when he can really go and exploit and other teams and use his strengths to the maximum capability. And that's about being in the right position more times than not. 9 times out of 10, rather than maybe 4 or 5 times out of 10. Being in the right position when you're in a position to go and really do what you can do and what we see you can do in training. And then it's about building a relationship with other players on the pitch so they know what he's going to do, he knows what they're going to do. And we've seen some really brilliant moments like Birmingham at home, Leeds at home. And now it's about just being really consistent with it.
I know you told us last week that Jack Stevens was back in training. I know it's difficult to kind of put a time frame on it, but what's his journey now look like to getting back into the first?
Yeah, if it was down to Jack, he would have played last Saturday, and he'll be playing tomorrow night. And this, like, I love. He's honestly so desperate to be involved and help the team, and I love that about him. And I'm desperate for it. Like, I don't think it can be understated how much of a miss he has been. And we're really fortunate that we've had 3 guys that have come in. Taylor, Mason, and Yanni have done really brilliantly. You know, especially those 2 have built up a relationship, Yanni and Taylor, for over a period of time now. But he was a huge loss. We wouldn't have lost 4 games in a row if Jack Stevens was playing. We wouldn't have. We just wouldn't have gone through that, I don't think. Albeit, I think it will be good for us in the long term to come through all that together. But I would not envisage that happening if he was fit and playing, because he is. He's even in the week he's been back training, like the detail in possession, the way he helps teammates without even. If you don't fully understand what he does, then when you play with him, you definitely do, and you wouldn't even notice some of the stuff, the like non-verbal communication he gives with the ball, with the body language, then the verbal communication he gives, just the voice he's had in training last week. The noise has gone up, the intensity's gone up, the aggression's gone up. He is a top football player. I knew he was good, but he's better than I thought he was, and I've missed him. You can probably tell. I think the team's missed him. So for me, is about managing my own temptation to bring him back in quickly, his desperation to bring him back in quickly, and is listening to the sports science and medical department that we have here. And because it's a collaboration, everyone is together, and we all want the same thing, which is Jack on the pitch helping us. But to do that and make sure he stays there, we just need to be a little bit more patient. And I think hopefully this time next week, I'll be giving you a little bit of a different answer, and he'll be really pushing to get into the squad, and then it's up to him to push himself to get into the team. And I think he knows he has a challenge to do that. But knowing Jack and working with him for a while now, and the character he is, he'll back himself to do that, and then make sure he stays in there when he gets in.